Hello, abnormals, and welcome once again to the Ministry of Abnormality. I am your host, O Abnormal, and today I'm doing something a little bit different. See, normally I talk about things I actually know about, and while I would never consider myself an actual expert in anything, I have, so far, tried to stick to topics where I have at least a few years of experience and some knowledge. With 16 years of experience working as a professional illustrator, I feel confident enough to say that there's plenty of topics I can cover with ease and talk about from a position of relative success. But not today. Today I'm doing something different. Today I'm going to cover a topic I think I have sort of neglected throughout the years. And I'll be talking not from the position of a person that does it right, but from the position of an artist analyzing where I might have gone wrong. These aren't years of successful experience, these are years of failures that I'm bringing to the table. Hopefully, my reflections upon my own mistakes and thoughts about how I can improve will not only be of use to me, but to you as well. So join me today as I share my thoughts on collaboration. Where I've gone wrong, where I might have gone right, and how I plan to change this aspect of myself as an artist moving forward. Very much in the spirit of the topic, in the background, you'll see a time lapse of an image I made for a Draw This in Your Style hashtag, a collaboration on Instagram, which is for my good friend Mao Draws. He's definitely way better at this whole collaborative thing than I am. And if you get a chance, you should definitely check out his work. Link in the description. Also, before I begin, please keep in mind that this video is very personal. I've made it in hopes that through my personal experience, we can all benefit. And I'd love it if you shared your thoughts and opinions in the comments or wherever you'd like. But also keep in mind that my own experiences may not reflect your own. And that's okay. So, about collaboration. Most artists would agree that our work is somewhat a lonely endeavor. Even at the highest point of collaboration, when it comes to get things done, it's just you and whatever you're working on. Sure enough, if you look at an industry such as comics, you'll have several different people working on the same image. In a lot of cases, not all, one person does pencils, another one inks, and another one colors. There's a lot of teamwork going on, but when you look at the specific act each one of them has to do, each member of the team does their work on their own. Sure, maybe you're coloring another person's drawing, but you color alone. Even when we work as a team, we each do our own parts separately. I have yet to see a group of artists that works in tandem, like two illustrators holding a pencil at the same time to produce an image. Or at least, not successfully or anything beyond entertainment novelty, like a live show. This isn't like many other crafts or jobs where sometimes people have to work together at the same time to get a result, sometimes even helping speed those results up. Two mechanics can work in a car at the same time, or two people can work together to lift something heavy. But when it comes to creating an image, each member of the team has to wait until the other person's job is done before they can do their part. I'm sure that many of you could come up with plenty of examples of situations where simultaneous collaboration in art takes place, but then I'm also sure those examples would be very specific, and we'd be in one of those exception to the rule kind of situations. My point is, most artists are used to working on their own, and an artist that can't deal with at least a little bit of solitude has a serious and inconvenient problem. But along that path, many of us might go a bit to the other extreme and find that we have alienated ourselves from other artists. And that's the situation I find myself in, and the situation I'm trying to get out of. Let me explain how I've come to this conclusion. At the beginning of the year, I set upon myself the personal challenge of growing my audience both on YouTube and Instagram. I enjoy figuring things out, and I've always been somewhat mystified by how things like social media work. Their mechanics, their secrets, the rules of their game. I've never really liked most platforms such as Facebook or Twitter, and don't even get me started on DeviantArt. But the difference Instagram and YouTube have with those other platforms is that I actually like them. So born from curiosity and a desire to challenge myself, I decided that I wanted to grow on both those platforms, simply because I wanted to see if I was able to. So for the past few weeks, I've been trying to consume as much information as possible regarding how both platforms work. But more Instagram than YouTube, simply because I think it's a bit less complex and overwhelming, but still pretty complicated. And among the many different tips and tricks that I've found, one always seems to pop up over and over again, and that's collaborating with other artists. There seem to be great benefits from collaborating with other artists. You get pushed out of your comfort zone, you get to have your work seen by people that otherwise would have never found you, and you make friends within the artistic community. When I first heard about it, I was very interested in whatever advice I could find. But then I thought it was weird that having been working as an internet artist for so long, I didn't already know how it was done. You'd figure that after 16 years I'd be an expert in such a thing, but no. And even worse, for me, I see so many of those things being done with great expertise by artists with much less experience than I have. Why is it such a new concept for me then? And more importantly, would my reach as an artist and success be at a different point if I had not neglected this oh so important aspect of my work? Anyway, that's enough of lamenting my current situation. Let's punch ourselves a bit harder and lower and think about what specific mistakes I've made throughout the years. But we can soften each blow by afterwards thinking about how I can fix it. So, I've settled into a comfort zone. We've all heard it before that we have to go out of our comfort zone. The great Bobby Chiu once said that our comfort zone should be outside of our comfort zone. And I like to think I took his advice. But did I really? Sure, I'm proud of being an artist that isn't afraid to draw anything that's asked of him. So yeah, perhaps. But then I have to admit I've been very choosy with how I venture out and how far. I seem to have convinced myself that just because I tried drawing something I don't normally draw or haven't drawn before, I've gone out of my comfort zone and that's enough. But that's just a topic. And how important is it really, in the big scheme of things, if I draw a flower or not? Of course, no good comes out of drawing the same thing over and over, and rarely, if ever, venturing out and challenging ourselves to draw something different. But then, what about methods or styles? There's a lot to be learned by trying to do things following somebody else's rules. Whenever you collaborate with another artist, there are going to be conditions, themes, requirements. There will be a set of rules that would force me to adapt and look at things differently. And in this exercise, I would grow my skills and range of adaptability. Going out of my comfort zone isn't just drawing things I wouldn't normally draw, but putting myself in situations I wouldn't normally be in. And collaborating would be a great way to do that. I've been too busy. And let's face it, who isn't? With two jobs, one as a concept artist and the other as a teacher, there's very little time to dedicate to my own personal projects, let alone with other people. So a lot of times when I've seen an opportunity to collaborate, I've either declined or ignored it, justified in my lack of availability. And it wasn't a lie, I really don't have a lot of time available. But the thing about reasons or excuses is that as valid as they might be, results don't care about my reasons. As many reasons I might have to not have collaborated with others for being too busy, the benefits of collaboration simply don't happen anyway because my reasons were valid. I can make myself feel better by telling myself I was too busy as much as I want. But in the end, I'm the one that's missing out, justified or not. I have to make the time, even if it isn't a lot, to do this sort of thing. They don't have to be huge projects, but even if it's just an hour or two a week, I have to make enough time for collaborative work. I don't participate in communities. This one is difficult for me because I've always been sort of a low-key, mellow fan. I used to think I was passionate about things such as Star Wars, but then I see the communities and how intense people can be about these things, and I realize that I'm really quite moderate and calm about my fandoms. And honestly, I wouldn't like to change that. Since there seems to be so much conflict and drama surrounding everything lately, I would hate to be personally affected whenever some franchise I'm a fan of doesn't go the way I would have wanted it to. This is a topic for some other time, but with Star Wars, for example, I really didn't like The Last Jedi. And please, don't assume you know why I didn't like The Last Jedi, neither in one direction or the other. I love Rey, Finn, and Poe, and Kylo before he took his mask off, and I was really looking forward to what sort of adventures they would take us on. But let's just say I didn't like the movie and leave it at that. Thing is, when Star Wars didn't go the way I wanted it to, it wasn't the end of the world for me as it apparently was for some others, and I'm okay with that. But a big part of the internet is finding people that like the same things you do, and being able to share your love for those things. And perhaps, in my calm, or let's even call it apathy, I've been missing out on these communities that give me great chances to exchange ideas, meet new people, and, of course, participate in art collaborations. Communities and fandom have generated a lot of great opportunities for a lot of artists, and many artists got their moment in the sun from sharing their love for a specific franchise with those communities. I don't have to be the annoying fan that gets angry every time a franchise doesn't go the way I think it should. But there are so many things I love that could generate many collaborative opportunities for me. Not just the aforementioned Star Wars, but also Dark Souls, Dune, Lovecraft, Power Rangers, 80s and 90s action films, 90s comics, ska, motorcycles. I like a long list of things. Surely there's a community out there I could at least participate a little bit in? I've led a few collaborations that didn't go so well turn me off. Of course, it's not like I've never, ever given collaborations a chance, but sometimes collaborations don't go so well. A lot of times, the other artist participating didn't put in the same effort into it as I did, or maybe even any effort at all. Sometimes I've tried collaborating with artists that had open art calls, and I've been ignored or overlooked. And some other times I've been a part of projects where they just didn't show my art enough for anybody other than myself and my own followers to notice. Ideally, a collaboration will have participation on all ends, with everybody doing their part to make sure everybody involved is benefited. But sometimes it just doesn't go that way, and while that's not cool, I can't let those bad experiences turn me off from trying it again. Maybe just don't try it again with the same people? Just like with the excuses I spoke of before, I might be justified in my reasons. But in the end, I'm the one that doesn't enjoy the benefits of collaboration because of some bad past experience I had. Basically, I just have to shake it off, get over it, and move on. I've aimed too much for artists much larger than I am. This is a difficult one to swallow, and it may sound awful, but size does matter on social media and communities. We may like to delude ourselves into believing it doesn't, that social media is a free-for-all where anybody can get noticed, no matter how small. But let's be real, does anybody legitimately believe that? We can't deny that having 1,000 or so followers isn't the same as having 100,000. And when it comes to getting attention, the numbers do matter. In the past, I've tried to participate in collaborations with artists that were just so much larger than I am in terms of pure numbers that it's no surprise I didn't get noticed at all. It's like commenting on The Rock's Instagram post and then being bummed out because he didn't reply. At the time of recording this video, The Rock has 137 million Instagram followers, and his last post has over 7,000 comments on it. Would I be surprised if I commented and it just got lost amongst the sea of fans? No, I wouldn't. And I wouldn't take it personally either. And I shouldn't take it personally as well when an artist that's several magnitudes larger than I am on social media doesn't notice my attempt at collaboration. It's to be expected, and it's nothing personal. Instead, I think I should focus on people that can actually benefit from a collaboration with me. Be it because we're of roughly similar sizes, or because I actually have something to offer. Whenever I've tried to collaborate with people so much larger than me, I've basically been asking them to do me a favor, even if that wasn't actually my intention. Like I said before, a collaboration ideally benefits all the people that participate. So from now on, I'll focus on that. Nevertheless, Mr. Rock, if you'd still like to collaborate, perhaps you can get Guillermo del Toro and we can all do a project together. I seem to be afraid to go measure myself against others. The appreciation of art has this thing that it can be excessively subjective. And as artists, we sometimes find ourselves in very frustrating situations where we have our art compared to others. Think like contests, for example. I've participated in some contests in my past only to not win, and not really understand why. It's not about ego, I just really didn't know where I went wrong. And it's not just contests and competitions, but in a lot of other places our art will get compared to other artists' work. And when our results don't turn out the way we would have hoped, we feel frustrated, especially if we can't fully understand the reason. A lot of people say that we should never compare ourselves with others. And perhaps that's true, I've certainly heard it enough times. And in order to avoid frustration, I believe I might have focused a bit too much on the mentality of just doing my thing and ignoring the rest of the world. Of course, there's a lot of benefit in focusing on your own work and not stressing over what other people may or may not be doing. But let's be real here. Art is a very competitive field. And if we want to make it professionally, we have to be competitive. Naturally, this doesn't mean that you should consider every other artist your enemy or anything like that. But it does mean that you should absolutely be ready to have your art be seen alongside others. And sometimes even to have it compared. It just comes with the territory. It's funny because I focus so much on not comparing my work to other artists and thought of it to be a great thing, when really all I was doing was finding justifications for my fear of actually being measured in a competitive industry. So what can I do? It's pretty simple, but hard to do. I just have to put myself out there more. Not take it personally when it doesn't go my way, and understand that when you try, sometimes you won't win, but if you never try, then you'll never win. I've romanticized being antisocial. Ah yes, it's 2019, and I've read enough articles about how being introverted is cool, staying at home is ideal, and a day that goes without having to interact with another human is a win. I find myself identifying with all those things, and I suppose it's perfectly fine to stay at home and shut out the world occasionally, but not always. It takes a huge ego to sit here and deprive the world of my company and then think that it's them that will be missing out instead of myself. And while I don't need to feel bad about myself simply because I'm not as sociable as other people, or because whenever I do go out and socialize I find it to be exhausting, I also shouldn't be glorifying the whole situation and acting as if it's not something I should be trying to improve. I don't have to stop being me, and I don't think I'll ever be the kind of person that just loves to go out and meet the entire world. But humans are not made to be on their own. Not really. I believe I've read and heard something about us being social animals. It all goes back to the whole idea of stepping out of my comfort zone. And while interacting with other artists, sharing ideas and collaborating with them is something that might not come naturally to me, I can't just discard the whole idea simply because it wouldn't be easy. Being antisocial isn't the epitome of evil, but it's not a heroic virtue either. I should strive for balance, and that includes an occasional dose of socializing just as well as keeping to myself sometimes. As with all other things, I might have my reasons, but then I'm the one that's missing out on the benefits. And so that's it. As I've said before, this was a very personal video, and I can only hope that through my own experiences and thoughts, the rest of you can find some benefit. Writing the script for this, I've come upon a lot of conclusions and made a lot of decisions about how I should change moving forward. And hopefully you'll see me in plenty of collaborative efforts in the future. But for now, thank you for listening to my ramblings, and do be sure to share your own thoughts and experiences regarding collaboration. I'm learning just as much as anybody here. Again, the image made in the time-lapse is for the Draw This in Your Style hashtag by my friend Mao Draws, and it's of his character, Fang. There's a link to his work in the description, and you really should check out his work. If there's any topic you'd like for me to cover or talk about in the future, be sure to let me know. For now, remember the whole like, comment, and subscribe thing. I'll see you all next week. Good hunting, and goodbye.